Hey guys, Adam here, and welcome to another episode of On the Couch Rewind. Today we'll be talking about 21 Jump Street in anticipation for its sequel, 22 Jump Street. So the plot is Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill were high school rivals. 7 years later, they meet back up at the police academy where they become friends in order to pass. After their first failed bust, they are transferred to the Jump Street program where, because of their youthful looks, they are to infiltrate a high school that is distributing drugs and put a stop to it, where hilarity ensues. Now, I never watched the show because, well, I wasn't even born yet, but I do know two things. One, Johnny Depp was in it. Two, one of the DeLuises was in it. And you know what, actually there's the third thing. Third thing is, it was actually much more serious than this movie is. This movie is a straight up comedy. But I guess that's what makes this movie work. I'm not even kidding. This movie, now, while not as funny as the first time I saw it, it's still pretty funny. It's not a bad comedy. If anything, it's better than most comedies I've seen this year. With that said, it's not as funny as I remember it, but it's still pretty funny. All right, so what did I like about it? Well, for one thing, the two leads. Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum have great chemistry together. I mean, they're hilarious together. And I am not the biggest Channing Tatum fan at all. You want a Channing Tatum fan that lives in this house? You talk to my sister, okay? She's crazy about him. Hell, she owns Magic Mike. And God knows how many times she's watched that in her room late at night. I'm going to get in trouble for that one. And here's why I don't like Channing Tatum. The majority of movies I've seen him in are serious movies. There are dramatic movies. He's not a drama actor. He's not a dramatic actor at all. He's not a serious actor. He's not even a good actor. But he's funny, which is why this is a perfect movie. I think he's found his niche here. In a movie like this, where it's a straight up comedy, where he's very much where he takes his lack of acting ability and turns it to a comedic role. Now, he's not up there with like Richard Pryor or Gene Wilder or anybody like that. No, he's not. But he's still pretty funny. This is where he can really shine, is as a comedic actor. But I think it's also because he plays off very well with a really good comedic actor like Jonah Hill, who is very funny. Who's also a good actor. Jonah Hill's actually really good in this as well. So yeah, the two leads are good in this. I actually do like Channing Tatum in this. Because again, he's funny. He's the asshole you root for, while Jonah Hill is the nerd you don't root for. Because, I mean, that's the funny thing about this. Their roles, which were a big, huge written in stone thing back in their years in high school, which I can relate to, have been reversed. The jocks are now the outcasts, and the smart people are the big leagues, or at least the smart preppy people are the big leagues. Nerds are still down below, even though nerds are a lot more sexy. Yeah. Ice Cube is funny in this for once. I like Ice Cube in a lot of the movies I've seen him in, but usually they're like R-rated, and he's able to unleash himself, which you don't see in a lot of the kids' movies he's in, where he has to hold himself back. Here, he doesn't have to. He's just fucking hilarious in this, because he doesn't have to. Again, he doesn't restrict himself from going all out in terms of how he can do his comedy, which makes him funny. Dave Franco, I like Dave Franco a lot. I hope he. He's definitely someone who's. I feel like is going to be remembered for more than just being the brother of James Franco. I think he's definitely going to be remembered as someone who can do movie role, hold his own in movie roles as well. I do like him in this. He definitely portrays every preppy high school jerk-off I've ever known. I'm not even kidding. Plus he's a vegan, and I have this thing against vegans. Brie Larson, I like Brie Larson in this. She's funny too. I liked her in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I definitely liked her in that. I'm trying to think. Nick Offerman, of course, gets a cameo. I just want to say one thing about the scene that everyone sees in the trailers for the first movie, is when like Jonah Hill, after getting tackled by one of the main villains, scrapes his elbow. And he's like, yeah, it's like right there. It hurts. It really, really hurts. And Nick Offerman just flicks the elbow. Let me tell you something. That shit hurts. Okay? Scraping your elbow hurts like a motherfucker. Especially when it's fresh and someone just flicks it. That shit hurts. That's not me being a pussy. It literally hurts. Like, that is a painful place to get hurt. To have someone flick their fingers on you is a scraped elbow. That shit really does hurt. That doesn't mean you need to scream out like a baby, but it hurts. So yeah, I do like this movie, but there are elements of it I don't find funny. Like the earlier elements of, like some of the high school elements, especially with some of the characters. Now, like I said, I like Dave Franco and I like Brie Larson as these characters, but they're also thrown into as stereotypes. And it's not their fault. I feel like it's more the fault of the writing than it is the acting. Is that and it's not a bad script, it's just elements of it fall into less of a, hold on. Sorry about that, my sister called. So, anyway, yeah, it falls on a stereotype. Like, a lot of the kids do a lot of the social groups fall down in stereotypes of what their high schoolers are portrayed as today. They're very much so, and it doesn't come off as parody or spoof, but more as an annoyance and kind of ignorant and almost just tad bit offensive, but not so much so that it completely takes you out of the movie, but just like a slight annoyance, especially with the Dave Franco and Brie Larson characters. But that's really the majority of like the new group, high school social groups that are that today has. Whereas like nerds, jocks, those guys are still, those guys are actually are portrayed fairly well. I mean, me being shit, you guys know by now I'm a big ass nerd. Hell, my sister would probably fall under like sport, would fall under not redneck but country girl. My sister will fall under, especially where we live. She's in the hierarchy of social class, considering the majority of people in the high schools we went to are country people. I wasn't one of them. But anyway, one of the biggest problems I had about this movie too was some of the unnecessary plots. Like, for instance, the two rival cops only had 2 scenes. Like the two girls that were kind of being total bitches to Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill. They're just bitches to him. It was like, oh yeah, you're idiots, we're good at this. Honestly, it didn't go anywhere. It really didn't. Like, they were just there to say, oh yeah, we're actually doing your job for you because we're better at our job, blah blah blah. You could have done something with that. Hell, you could have made them dirty cops. I mean, even the first time I saw the movie, I knew it was like, you could have done something with those characters. You really could have. The teacher. Now, the joke here is funny, but it didn't really. Well, actually, you know what? It did pay off. I'll give it that. It did pay off because. But unfortunately, what I watched was a cut down TV version of 21 Jump Street recorded. But I'm not going to hold that against this movie. It's not the movie's fault. Yeah, I forgot about this. There's this tiny little subplot, like a little running gag, where Channing Tatum accidentally gets their names switched, his and Jonah Hill's covers switched up, so he ends up going to the AP chemistry class where he meets the hot teacher who has the hots for him. Normally something like that would be creepy, but it's funny here because the joke is he's not a teenager. He's not. Which makes it funny because she has no idea, and yet she's still willing to try to want to fuck him, which she does. Like, in the credits, you see Channing Tatum fuck her in the credits. So that joke was completed. However, but while the joke was paid off, it really wasn't necessary, is what I should say. That's probably that's more likely a downside of it. The biggest problem I had with this movie, however, was the main villain. And it's not the character, it's the actor. Now, I said I'm not a big Channing Tatum fan. That doesn't mean I hate him. That just means some of the movies I've seen him in, I don't like him in because it just doesn't feel right for him. This guy, however, I do not like at all. His Rob Riggle, from one of the dudes from The Daily Show. Or I should say, the one guy from The Daily Show I don't like. That I've never found him funny. I've never found him to be a good comedian at all, because the majority of the time he's just a big loud asshole. That's saying a lot coming from me, people. Here he's just yeah, he's just Rob Riggle. He's not funny. He's not funny. He's just not funny. I don't like him. The moment they showed him in this movie, the moment they revealed that he was the villain, I did not like him. You could have probably taken him out. They revealed that he's this the supplier of this new drug. Hell, you could have made the biker gang the suppliers of this new drug instead, because they were actually better. Because the other main villain was actually funny, but he was also menacing, and also he can fucking act. So yeah, I don't like Rob Riggle. I never did. Every time I see him in a movie like this, I don't like him. He's just annoying and obnoxious. He's not funny. He isn't. But yeah, there are things about this movie I do like. Like I said, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill's chemistry. Ice Cube, Nick Offerman, Dave Franco, Brie Larson. The action is funny. Some of the jokes in the action scenes are funny. Like the exploding cars. That's a running gag that happens in one scene, and it's funny. And they bring it back in the climax, which makes it even funnier. It's like, oh wow, I thought that would work. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's funny. That's funny. God. But yeah, like I said, the action sets are indeed funny. They're also very well coordinated. I do like the action scenes in this. That I do. Like I said, I do like it. The story's not horrible. It's not. It is a well-paced story. It doesn't feel like it's dragged on either, which is a problem that a lot of comedies have these days, is that it's dragged on. This one isn't. It's actually fairly paced. I wouldn't say this is my favorite comedy, but it's definitely the better comedy I've seen in a while, which is probably why I'm looking forward to 22 Jump Street. Plus, it's directed by the same guys that directed my favorite kids movie of the year, Lego Movie. Okay, I fucking love that movie. So yeah, of course I'm gonna like this movie because it's done by people who actually know comedy. Chris Miller, Phil Lord, they know comedy. So yeah, final score for 21 Jump Street is a 7 out of 10. I do enjoy it. It has its problems. Maybe they'll fix it up with 22 Jump Street, who knows. Until then, bye.